Okay, we've got our SV-1, it's all set up. We've got the pickups in place, the scratch plates in place. We've got the neck on, and we've attached our headstock. We've attached the machine heads to the headstock, and everything's pretty much ready to go. We just need to put the strings on. Now, when you're putting strings onto a Floyd-rose style system, it's a little bit tricky. What I've got here is I've got a metal ruler which I've put underneath this bridge. So this bridge, you may recall when we were setting it up, is on springs. Now what I've done is I've lifted up that bridge and I've slid a metal ruler in there, and that'll keep the bridge nice and high. So when we come to put the strings on, the strings will go from the saddle down there to the nut up here and actually lock in at the nut up there as well. And they're locking down here. And when we take the ruler out, what we want to have is we want to have even tension between the string tension and the spring tension at the back, so that the strings are actually floating and the bridge is floating. So what you'll need for this exercise, you'll need your strings, you'll need a good pair of pliers, you'll need a screwdriver, and a selection of Allen keys that came with the kit. Now if we look at this bridge here, we see at the back of the bridge we've got these locking mechanisms. Now the strings actually lock into here, and I'll show you how that's done. At the back of this Floyd-rose style system there's a little screw here that puts tension on this block here for the string. So we're going to loosen that off, just a few turns, and we're going to put the E string, the bottom E string, onto the guitar. Now to do that we actually need to cut the string at the ball. I'll show you that now. So I've got the E string here. I just want to cut off the end of this string just where it joins up to the ball. So I'll grab my pliers, and you can see the twisted wire starts about 1 centimetre back from that ball end. So I'll just cut that off there. So then we've got a clean end to our wire. And what that does, that actually sits in here and it locks in. So we'll tighten that Allen key now, the one we just loosened. Just a couple of turns back, didn't take much. And there you go, that E string is now locked into that saddle. And we can go ahead and tune that up to the E string at the top of the nut. So I'll do that for the other 5 strings, and then we'll come back and have a look. And there you go, that's all 6 strings in place. They're all nicely locked in. What we need to do now is tune these up to the machine heads up at the nut. So we'll turn the guitar around and have a look at that. Alright, just with any other guitar, what we're doing is we're just taking that string up to the appropriate machine head, and we're just going to tune that up. Don't worry too much about this nut at the moment, just treat it as a normal nut, but later on we'll actually screw some holders in place that will actually lock this string into place, and that way it'll be locked at the nut and back at the saddle. So just feed the strings in through the machine heads, and I've got a full video on how to fit strings, so you can tune into that. We'll come back when we've fitted the strings up here. Alright, so we've got our strings on. I might just cut those ends off. Okay, so we've got our strings attached to the machine heads up the top here, and they're sitting nicely in the nut there. Now this nut here, there's 2 small Allen screws just here, and they raise and lower the nut, and that's important to get the nut raised so you don't get any buzz down this end. You want it to clear this first fret here. So you can hear that's actually buzzing the first fret, so we need to raise that a little bit. Just a little. And there you go, that's stopped the buzz. Okay, now it's time to attach our locking nut. The locking nut has these plates, 3 of those, which sit over the top of the strings, and these screws here fit into the middle there and bolt down into the screw holes. So let's just screw those in and see how that fits. We won't tighten them yet because we still want to tune the guitar. So I've got an Allen key here which fits these. So really we just want those finger tight for the minute. And there you go. That's just finger tight there. So we'll leave that be. Now let's have a look at the bridge. Okay, let's have a look at this bridge now. Remember we've got this ruler that's just sitting at the back of that, and you'll notice that the ruler actually just slips out. So that means the strings are roughly to the tension we want them, perhaps a bit too tight. So what we'll do is we'll actually tune the guitar to pitch, and then we'll see how that's sitting. If that just slips out, we may need to tighten the springs at the back. So tune the guitar up to pitch and we'll see how this bridge sits. I brought the guitar roughly up to pitch, and as you can see the ruler here is just slipping out. So what's happened is the string tension is too tight for the springs at the back. So it means I need to tighten the springs at the back. So again, we'll turn the guitar over and we'll tighten these screws here. Let's see how that sits. So again, you need to tune the guitar up to pitch. And already I can see that the bridge is still too high, so I need to tighten the springs again. Okay, I've got the strings at tension now, and that ruler just slips out there, and I'm pretty happy with the position of the bridge. It's nicely floating, it's all in tune. Now I just need to lock down the nut, so we'll come over here and we'll show you how to do that. So this is the Floyd-rose style nut here, and it's got 3 Allen screws here. You just tighten those, and what that does, that locks your strings into tune. So fairly tight, try not to over tighten the screws so they strip, just nice and tight. So what that's done now, we've got our strings locked in here at the nut, and they're also locked back here at the saddle. So when we put our tremolo arm on, and that just screws onto here, and screws on with a little sleeve like so. When you dive bomb and stuff like that, the strings come back to tune because they're locked into place at the saddle and the bridge, the saddle and the nut. So play around with that. It does take a bit of practice to get that tuning done. It's a bit frustrating. What you can do if you get stuck, you can go onto Floyd-rose's website and have a look, or have a look on YouTube for some tuition on how to set up a Floyd-rose style bridge. It takes a bit of practice, but it's definitely worth it, and you can get some great effects with this tremolo arm. Alright, that's our SV-1 pretty much set up. The only thing to add now is our strap buttons, which we've got on another video, and then we're ready to go. We can start looking at action, intonation, so check it out. Enjoy.